of garbage taken to the disposal site. Arden was ahead of the game, but maybe next year, since we know that's going to happen, I think yearly now, that we can get all four rec committees working together with the Lions Club. So that's great. Anything else to add? Deputy Mayor Smith? Anyone else? Okay, if not, we'll go on then. Deferred items, none. Oh, there is, sorry, Public Works. Change in the summer hours for Public Works. And I'm going to read the motion and then we're going to discuss it. Moved by, is that Philip Smith? Is it? Okay, it must be Bill Everett then. Bill Everett? Yeah. Okay, moved by Bill Everett, seconded by Cindy Kelsey.
Oh, it doesn't, I'm sorry.
It's not you.
Yeah.
Oh, it is you. Okay.
I'm usually right, Bill.
That would be good. Okay, moved by Bill and seconded by Cindy. The council received the report entitled Proposal to Change Public Works Hours prepared by the Public Works Manager for information. And further, that council consider leaving the hours for Public Works as they currently are, Monday to Friday, 40 hours from November 1st to March 31st and beginning April 1st to October 31st, Monday to Thursday, 4 to 10 hours per day. Discussion. Tyson, do you want to say something first and then take questions, or?
Madam Mayor, I think I've spelled it out pretty well in my report. The main points of focus are safety of the workers and just productivity on those Fridays. And I don't expect the conversation to go too much further past safety. So I'll turn it back over to council, and we just want to remind council we work for council. We're going to go with any decision. We're just trying to put these points out that some of the ones maybe you weren't thinking of, and we'll go from there.
Okay. Susan.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you, Tyson, for your report. And I acknowledge the safety issue. I'm just wondering, have you considered shortening the period? Because if it's for the volume of traffic that's a concern, that's a 7-month period that you're proposing. And I would think that the highest volume of traffic probably begins to start around the Victoria Day weekend in May to probably the end of September, possibly to Thanksgiving. So just wondering if that had been a consideration, because April 1st seems a bit early to me, but that's just a thought.
Okay.
Through you, Madam Mayor, Councillor Irwin, sorry for the delay. My mic button didn't work there. We set this up similar to what we call the legal winter season for the minimum maintenance standards. And we try to time it near half load season, but no, I haven't considered shortening the time frame.
Okay. Nikki.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Could I request a recorded vote on this first of all?
Okay.
Please, and thank you. And Tyson, yes, thank you for your report. It was great. I'll go through. I have comments on quite a few of the things. First of all, I'd like to make note that 80% of people that work in Ontario work on Fridays. And the majority of municipalities in the province of Ontario use the swing shift. So they alternate half their crews on Fridays, half work one Friday, half work another. I reached out to our neighbors. Tay Valley works on Fridays. They just have a shorter day on Friday. South Frontenac has the swing shifts where they alternate. Stone Mills does not work on Fridays. The city of Kingston works on Fridays. North Frontenac doesn't, and Addington Highland doesn't, just to let you know that. You talk about productivity, and you gave a great example of what the schedule is when there is you gave great schedule of how they work when there's a project. It would be interesting if we could have a schedule of when they're not working on a major road project, because this year we have 8 roads getting gravel and we only have 2 major roads getting work done. So if you could maybe give us an example of what a regular work week looks for the team, that would be great. You talk about under productivity, you talk about having to prepare for these major road projects and stuff, but you've already contracted contractors to do some of the work that the guys are doing. So Matsons are already doing brushing on Arden Road. Is it just because it's spring and you want to get a jump start on it without using the staff that you have, because you do talk that that's how you utilize and get prices down? You also said that it's about helping the contractors and you're laying the gravel and stuff. I can understand the grading, getting the roads ready and stuff, but we're going to be approving tenders later in the meeting, and it's about the purchase and placement of gravel. So if you could clarify that one for me, that would be great. On page number 4, under current operations, you state that the team comes out around 3 a.m. to 11 a.m. during the winter. That's only during if there's a major snow event. I think that the majority of them work 7 to 4 or 6 to 3 during a regular day in the winter. My next question is about the law. You have questions here for council. And you want us to consider incidents, give you examples of incidents that happens on Friday. I don't keep a log of every incident. I assume the township does. So if we could see a log, that might help us do that. But like last Friday, some of the guys were called out to work on Friday when it was their day off as well. You also talk about that the average employee has 4 weeks of vacation a year. Under the staff policy, it says that when you become 2 years, you get two weeks vacation, 5 years, you have 3 weeks, and over 10 years, you have 4 weeks. Is the majority of staff have been with us for over 10 years then? And you talk about that they've accumulated at least 2 weeks of bank time for the winter work, which is great. And I appreciate all the hard work that they do, because they do work hard and they do come in at odd hours and they do give up their family time. But I think that that's something that under areas of improvement, we need to look at that and look at scheduling during snow events to keep them at home longer and put them out when the roads are really, really bad. And you talk about if we change it to a Friday, that most of the staff will take Fridays off. Again, that's a supervision problem to work on, because as a supervisor and the most staff realize that not everybody can have the every day off they ask for, and you only limit the time off, the number that you allow to have that time off. So those are my questions or my points.
Okay. I saw you writing things down, so go ahead.
Madam Mayor, I've got some of them. Yeah. So that's quite a bit to speak to all in one, what I was trying to jot down here, but I'll try to sum it up into categories. Let's speak to the capital projects first. I understand that there's only 8 roads to do, but it's not just the gravel tender. There's also calcium, and then not just the capital projects. It's all the other projects that both crews get together and work on, like ditching in various areas on back roads, larger culvert replacements as needed. There's a long list of other projects that we get together on get both crews to work together on. And any work that we're doing in the summer, that is where public works staff have to take their vacation. They can't take it in the winter. So it feels like we're already shorthanded in the summer as it is, with everybody trying to manage and supervisors trying to manage everybody's vacation time. With a staggered shift like this, we anticipate it's going to be quite difficult to get anything major done on those 2 days, Mondays and Fridays. And we're afraid that it's going to be the skeleton crews are going to turn into crews that we can hardly do anything with other than check roads or pull the odd beaver dam, which is not efficient planning of work hours. So yeah, there's so much here. That's what I would say to the projects portion, working together to do projects. Regular, I would say, I don't know the percentages of what townships in the area do the staggered shifts. You've done your research on that and that's good. But for our community in cottage country, when in the cottage season, when everybody's coming up and using these main arteries to get to their cottages, Central Frontenac is what I'm focused on. And it's too busy on Fridays to use our roads safely with my crews. So I've done comparisons with other townships and we're right in line with what they're doing. So we feel that staying the same on those Fridays is going to be the safest thing and most productive for the crews, regardless of what City of Kingston is doing. Let's get back to jumping down to the shift in the winter, 3 a.m. to 11 a.m. Your comment that they're only out during a major snow event is quite inaccurate. Basically, any time where there is a chance of frost or even a millimeter of freezing rain or a couple centimeters of snow, those guys are deployed. So to say that we only go out during major snow events, I feel is quite naive if you look at how many times these guys go out at 3 a.m, because anytime there's a danger to the roads, they go out before the buses and before people go to work. So major events, yes, you can count on major snow events. You can count on 2 hands. The times that they go out in the winter is way more than that. So, and the reason for the 3 a.m. to 11 is so we can get out and get all the buses to where they need to be and all the people to where they need to work by that time. So,
Just to follow up to that,
Yeah.
Tyson, we're not meeting the buses. If you look at the cancellations, we are not meeting to get the buses out on the road.
Through you, Madam Mayor, Councillor Gowdy, Tri-Board Communication does a blanket cancellation. They don't call our patrolmen anymore. They didn't make one call this winter to our patrolmen to say, how's the conditions of your road? If they did, we would tell them they're good and they're ready to use most of the time. Those the cancellation is region wide these days. So I wouldn't like to blame the Public Works from Central Frontenac
The other question was the 4 weeks holidays.
I can engage Treasury to do a more in-depth analysis of how many vacation days exactly Public Works is expected to use between April and October. But I ran it by Michael and Amy, and we did a pretty high level estimate, and we tried to present to council to show that it's a lot of days they have to use in a pretty small time frame. But we can follow up with a more exact amount of days. It's an estimate, so.
Susan and then Craig.
I'm just going to go back to my point about shortening the period, because in listening to you, Tyson, and thank you, Madam Mayor, I forgot to say that. If safety is the primary concern, then I think you're looking at the volume of traffic on the roads. And so I would propose that if we're going forward with a motion, that we shorten the period from May 1st to September 30th. That's a 5-month period. Right.
First of all, I'd like to thank everybody for coming. As a union representative, I love to see when an issue actually hits the field that means something. And by the turnout of the crowd, I'd say this issue means a lot to the people that work at Central Frontenac Road Department. Years of working 4 10-hour days. Tyson, I just want to run something by you. You work 4 10-hour days and you work Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, possibly a bit of overtime on Friday till noon. In that 5-day period, even if you say you don't work any overtime on Friday, you lose 1 day a week out of the 5 days. You can still work your 40 hours in 4 days. If you do it the other way, you're going to be skeleton crewed Monday, skeleton crewed Friday. So we'd only really be accomplishing 3 full days of work in a 5. Is that correct?
Through Madam Mayor to Councillor Middleton, that's correct, and that's what I tried to lay out in my table. And that not only does that affect our productivity, it's going to make it difficult for the calcium tender and the gravel tender and some other major projects that we do, because contractors are going to have a tough time working around that 3-day week. Especially, let's just use the gravel, for example. And I apologize, Councillor Gowdy. I don't want to keep on just only using the one example, but gravel, it takes so much time to get the roads ready for that full crew to go at that job. If the contractors know that they've only got about a few days to do that throughout the week, they're going to go to other townships first, and they're going to have I think they're going to put us last for who they want to bring gravel to, and I think it will drive the prices up if it's going to be that difficult to stick handle those shifts to line up with ours. So something to take into consideration.
Bill,
Thank you, Madam Mayor, through you to Mr. Meyer. I have different issues stated differently, but first off, I see you stack the deck as opposed to what Mr. Middleton said. And I would like to hear from every one of them, but not individually. That should be a poll to what they would like to see. But anyway, we'll get back to that in a few minutes.
Sorry, Madam Mayor, through Madam Mayor to Councillor Abbott, can you repeat that? I don't understand what you're asking. A poll from who?
Your employees
Okay.
to see what they're actually willing to give. Okay, so I would not want to make any decisions before that because we're not the right people. We only have ideas. So we'll get back to that.
Okay.
My first thing, this is not a mistake, but for those of council who don't know, we don't have 1,100 kilometers of roads. We have 1,100 kilometers of one-way roads, which is how Public Works writes it down. We have approximately 550 kilometers of two-way roads.
Through Madam Mayor to Councillor Everett, that is a typo, and with this council package being submitted early last week, we couldn't.
Sorry, I didn't mention anything about the typo, just the 1,100 kilometers of road. But we don't have that. We have 1,100 kilometers of one way. We actually only have approximately 550 kilometers of two-way road.
The typo was 1,160, I believe,
No.
square kilometers of area.
And I didn't mention the square kilometers. I only mentioned the 1,100 because that's all one-way road. We don't have 1,100 kilometers of roads. We have 550 kilometers of roads. But you guys work one way at a time, so that's how Public Works measures it. But these people might not have known that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Second thing on my list. I don't see Public Works as having one crew. I see them as having two crews, a north and a south crew. And they're usually engaged in doing north and south work, albeit at the same time. So to me, that's not quite the same as one crew. So if one of those crews was to work on a Friday, it wouldn't be a skeleton crew. It would only be a skeleton crew if a lot of those people were off on holidays or compensatory time off. It would just be a regular work day. And don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to take away your 410s. I absolutely agree. You guys deserve 3-day weekends. I've already told Councillor Gowdy I don't agree with the 4-2 every week because that ruins your weekends. But I'm pretty sure some of you wouldn't mind working Mondays as opposed to Fridays, or taking Mondays off as opposed to Fridays off. But that would be the poll. That would be a questionnaire. Okay.
I just want to, just before we get too far, because I never even got to all Councillor Gowdy's questions, and I really do appreciate council's interest in this, and I really do want to get to everybody. Bill, just back to your, Councillor Everett, back to your inquiry about the skeleton crews on Friday. When do you want Public Works employees to take their vacation days?
It doesn't matter if they're not working a Friday, it's not a vacation day anyway. It's a day off. If they are working Friday and not working Monday, then they're not taking Monday off as a holiday because it's already a day off. And they're going to be taking Monday to Thursday off if it's their holidays. So a skeleton crew can be 5 days a week as opposed to only 1 day a week. You see where I'm coming from?
Through you, Madam Mayor, to Councillor Everett, I totally agree on paper with what you're saying, the hours that, yeah, I agree, they work out. When you pack up and call your relatives and go on a camping weekend or a fishing weekend or to a concert or music festival or the grass drags or whatever it is that we like to go to, that doesn't happen on Monday afternoon. Those things happen on a Friday.
That is true enough. I agree with you. But at the same time, if you had a crew working on Friday, and you've stated here that 3.5 days is your working week when it comes to capital projects. Well, if a crew wasn't on overtime on Friday, we'd be saving all that money just as regular pay. Okay. So we're gonna flog that till it's dead, but so we'll, well, we've already covered, I don't think it's a skeleton crew. And if they're working on Fridays, you're not losing a half day's work. You've still got your 3.5 days. You're just not paying overtime. And you've already stated in here that the bulk of your overtime is on Fridays. So we'd be saving some money there.
Through you, Madam Mayor, to Councillor Everett and the rest of council. I think one point I did have written down that probably would answer a few more questions, and hopefully it made sense in my report. But the bulk of the overtime being on Fridays is that is typically estimated by the Public Works team, managers or supervisors, to decide whether in our current work week, a lot of it's facilities related, and then also we'll make decisions to say, let's use Wilkinson Road as an example. We put it out, we estimated it for X amount of dollars, and then we decided, we looked as the year came through and we were going to award that project. We made a decision to say, you know what, we're ahead right now. The roads are graded up. Everything's, council's happy. We've got some time. Let's take on the grading and the ditching and some of these items from the contract ourselves. It was estimated that we could actually do that in-house with in-house equipment that we pay for and in-house staff and their skills to do portions of those projects more cost effectively than hiring a subcontractor out. So that's a decision that was made. And something I tried to spell out in my report is that Public Works can really improve on, if given the opportunity, would be we can do a lot better job allocating those costs in the budget too, so they're actually reflected. So when we go and say, you know what, we're going to save some money instead of hiring a local contractor or any contractor to grade Wilkinson Road in preparation of tar and chip, and we make that decision to use township staff hours and equipment, then we could charge that to that capital project. So those savings are reflected instead of just looking like huge overtime hours added up. So that's a suggestion. That's an area that I would love to improve on if we could have the opportunity.
My issue with that, of course, is that 40 hours a week is 40 hours a week. It doesn't matter if it's a Monday through Friday. You know what I mean? I'm definitely not trying to take away their well-deserved time off. But if we can come up with an agreement to save overtime money, that should be the issue, and they should all be involved in it too. Not just
the
us.
point I'm trying to get across is I agree with saving on overtime hours. I do agree with that. And we are doing our best. I assure you of that. And we will continue to improve on that. What I'm trying to say is how also to reward some staff members who we can save money on a project by doing it in-house, even at time and a half, and reward some of the hardworking operators that want to put in some extra hours for this township to save them some money.
I agree 100%, but at the same. Okay, we'll drop it. Yeah.
Okay, Nikki?
Just to follow up on the overtime. If you brought the guys in for overtime, are you gonna pay them for overtime or do you book it as bank time? So like you owe them a day in advance. So for example, you came in and you graded a road on a Friday, which was your day off. To help it with a project. Are we gonna pay you for that time and a half? Or do you bank it and they have to take different time off in exchange for working that time?
Through you, Madam Mayor, to Councillor Gowdy, that could be used either way, but only to our policies, how they're written to a certain point. So that bank time could be paid or taken in lieu at this time. That's a policy that could be improved on.
So they don't get paid overtime. We don't pay overtime at all. They just
Yep.
bank.
They can, and anybody correct me if I'm wrong, Kathy, and Treasury could jump in, but as far as I know, they can put on their timesheet to request that they get paid out for those overtime hours each time they submit their time card.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, what I did here is a different motion, what's it called when you, an addition to this motion from Councillor Irwin, who is prepared to put a motion on the floor to change the times from April 1st to May 1st, ending September 30th instead of October 31st. So you will move that motion. Do we have a seconder for that? I'll second that. Okay. We have to vote on the amendment first.
That's correct.
So what you would be voting on is that we continue the way it is, but we change the period from April to October to May 1st to September 30th. So it's cutting off about 2 months. All those in favor of that motion? 2 of us. Okay, opposed? Motion's defeated. So now the original motion, and I will go back to it. I'll read the last part of it, and it's a recorded motion. And further, that council consider leaving the hours for public works as they currently are, Monday to Friday, 40 hours from November 1st to March 31st, and beginning April 1st to October 31st, Monday to Thursday, 4 to 10 hours. Now, Philip?
Just before you call the question, Madam Mayor, we heard some good comments. And one of the ones is around polling the staff. It would be interesting to understand what staff's take is on the switch. Because we've been able to make it work in the office. So, I mean, there's a staggered Friday that happens in the office that seems to work. And, you know, we didn't say, let's close the office on Fridays. We said there needs to be staff to handle issues that happen at the office. So I think it's important. The public during the election brought it up as an issue as well. That the road staff is not available on Fridays. So I think it, you know, as Councillor Everett has mentioned, a poll of the staff to see if they're willing or understand that what issues or questions we're facing as well. So
Okay, I am prepared to do a straw vote. Tyson first.
Through you, Madam Mayor, do you mind if I speak to Councillor Smith's point?
Sure.
Excellent point about the poll, Councillor Smith. I think that's an excellent idea. It might have been Bill's idea at the start. Very open to that. I do want to just comment as an office worker. I'm pretty much on call. You guys know if you call, I'll pick up or send a text back right away. But I think if we are doing a poll, setting ourselves up for accurate results, like, no offense, the office staff aren't really expected to be on call 24/7 responding to incidents all the time. And that leads into my next point of staff being available on Fridays is there's no, back to Councillor Gowdy's comment about the records of incidents and occurrences where we had to come in on Fridays, is there's not one occurrence in the last 3 years where we haven't been available. We haven't came in. And I know some of that you're saying is it's on a Friday, but if some of them are at 3 o'clock on Friday, if it was on at 4 o'clock, it would be overtime anyway. So there's a small window that we're trying to avoid. But it's been said to me that the risk of 3 days that were that were liable for overtime. Well, it's not just 3 days, like a weekend plus Friday that we're open for overtime. It's what about the rest of the time, all night, all morning? There's still the risk for overtime. It's so unpredictable, but I know office staff aren't expected to be in the middle of the night anytime the phone rings. So
Except the CAO.
yes.
I'm 24/7.
Okay, since we do have the road staff with us. Oh, Craig,
Is there any chance we could just vote on the motion, see what happens? And if the motion is defeated, then Tyson can go with his staff and get another idea, or?
I was thinking a straw poll. There's a number of them out there. If they want to raise their hands
So
for
what's
this
the question
motion.
gonna be? Who likes having Fridays off?
The motion is what I
Who
read.
likes having Fridays off? Raise your hand.
Craig, the motion is as we read it. And the motion is that it stay April to October, Monday to Friday, 40 hours from November 1st to March 31st, beginning April 1st to October 31st, and Monday to Thursdays, 4 to 10 hours per day. That's what I'm asking them, whether they want that and to put up their hands. Straw vote. Who wants to continue as you are? I would say that's unanimous. Okay, I'm going to call the vote. Unless you've got something brand new.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. That's only one question, though. Is there nobody that is willing to take a Monday off?
Sorry, you asked what they thought. Was there anybody who didn't put up their hand? Okay, so all of them want to stay with what's happening in the past, which is what this motion is. Okay, you wanted to know, that's what they've said. All right, now I am going to do a recorded vote, and we're starting with Philip Smith. So you're voting to keep it as it is. Philip. Danny. Nikki. Craig. Susan. Bill. Lynn. Cindy. Fran, yes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 yeses and 1, 2, 3 noes. Motion's carried. So it stays the same for this year. Not saying it can't come back.
Madam
Yeah,
Mayor,
that's
I'd
fine.
just like to say something. Appreciate you taking the time to consider, and I do appreciate all these excellent points that were brought. And just because the hours are staying the same doesn't mean we can search for efficiencies and that we can improve on supervision and that we can improve on overtime hours. We are dedicated to that. We are already, if you look at our numbers, we're down on overtime since before my time in management and Steve's time in supervision. And we change is difficult. And but we can still embrace it. We didn't think this was the best thing for the staff who work hard for this community. But thank you for all your points, and it was an excellent discussion.
Good, and I want to thank all the staff for coming out. You can come every council meeting. They're open. Feel free. All right, we're going to move on with the next motion. And
Then we go back to Public Works.
okay, this is Susan's. Moved by Susan and seconded by Craig, that council received the construction details report, April 2023 for information. Any questions or comments for Andy? Looks like you're going to be busy again, Andy. Still. No questions or comments? All those in favor? Carried. We have a motion moved by Craig and seconded by Susan Whereas the council of each municipality is responsible for the enforcement of the Building Code Act, including Regulation 332-12, the Act, which includes sewage systems, Part 8. And whereas the Township of South Frontenac has provided the services under Part 8 on the site sewage systems to Central Frontenac, North Frontenac, and the Frontenac Islands since January 2021. However, they have given us formal notice terminating the contract as of December 31st, 2023. And whereas staff from both Central and North Frontenac have reviewed 3 different options regarding the delivery of service for Part 8. And whereas CAO Clerk and Manager of Development Services, CBO, are recommending that we go with option 1 in-house, as it will be the most effective for the residents, and that we have qualified staff to deliver the program. Now, therefore, be it resolved that council approve of the recommendation of the CAO Clerk and the CBO and bring the Part 8 on-site sewage system in-house. Discussion. All those in favor? Carried. I thought it was August we had to,
No,
that was the end.
the contract ends the end of December. They will not accept any new applications as of August.
Okay.
Because they'll finish what any of the reporting for us.
okay. Lynn?
Sorry, thank you, Madam Mayor. I did have one comment I just wanted to make, and that was, it states here that you have 2 employees in Central Frontenac that are qualified to do the inspections. How will that affect their workload? Is it going to slow down the inspection process?
Oh, yes.
Through you, Madam Mayor, to Councillor Clagis, there will need to be some restructuring of workloads to take this on.
HR committee has been working on that. Yeah. All right. Public Works, nothing else for Andy while we have him at the table? Oh, Susan? Oh, there we go.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just a question about enforcement. Have you taken that into account in terms of staffing, particularly in relation to the re-inspection and so forth?
They are connected, but they are 2 separate issues. There would be the re-inspection does generate a lot more need for enforcement. But that is a separate program, but that we may need to look at the resources needed to do that enforcement.
And we certainly are scaling back this year and with the number that we propose to do. So it'll give us time to get things under our belts for the first year.
Yeah, the septic committee, I imagine we'll be scheduling a meeting. That this was the big question, is who is going to be doing the enforcement. So now that we know that, then we can get a meeting together and decide what we're going to do going forward.
Okay, thank you. Nothing else? Thanks, Andy.
Thank you.
All right, now we are at Public Works. And our first is the staff report, activity report, moved by Susan, seconded by Lynn, that council received the Public Works activity report as prepared by the Public Works Manager dated May 9th, 2023 for information. Any questions or comments on that report? Cindy?
Tyson, I was just wondering where you're at with sweeping the streets, doing the hamlets and so forth.
Through you, Madam Mayor, to Councillor Kelsey, I received word from our road supervisor that he's been in contact with the contractor who's going to be sweeping the streets, and it will be starting in the next couple of weeks.
Philip?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just in the waste, you talked about the annual report being finished, and I'm just wondering, does that annual report come to council? Is that the one that gives us the estimated remaining life of the landfill?
Through you, Madam Mayor, to Councillor Smith, that annual report should have the the remaining life, but we've also got really good data from the closure report. And both those can be brought forward to council. They could be presented. We could have Cambium present them, or we could circulate them however council wants.
I think we've had Cambium come and present them before, but do we need them? Or just get the report?
I just want to know the number because I think the life is probably getting less and less. So we need to be thinking about what we're going to do when that comes to an end.
Absolutely. And council, what we can do, I will give you a heads up. I think an estimate was about $1,100 if we wanted to have council. If we wanted to have Cambium present to council. We could summarize them. We could provide them, summarize them, and bring that back to council upon request.
I think a staff report's sufficient.
Yeah.
We're not paying you $1,100 to do it.
I agree. Which meeting?
Probably what's June? The first meeting in June?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
Okay.
Nikki?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Tyson, we had asked about getting the grader report. Not last year, the year before, we used to get a monthly grader report as to when the roads were graded, so that when people residents called complaining about the road, we were able to look at the schedule and say, oh, well, they were there a month ago and the schedule looks like they're going to be there in a month, so that we're not constantly pestering Public Works. Is that a possibility for this year?
Madam Mayor, to Councillor Gowdy, I think I would need authorization, just a little background on that. That's when we had an administrative assistant prepared that for us based off Public Works data. That's something that I could, with council's approval and Kathy's approval, I could approach Michael's staff. One of those girls could help me out with that. If that's something that all of council felt was necessary, then we could get back into that. It is quite a few administrative hours.
Is it a necessary report, or could we just simply have folks contact the office?
I'll give you an example of, like, right now with all the weather, grading is fairly sporadic. Now that we're catching up from those storms, now we're getting back into grading some areas and circulating around the township, but the grading report's only good if the weather's perfect. So
Just a follow-up question, please, and thank you. Correct me if I'm wrong, but is there not a schedule? Like, for example, Steve is on the grader and he knows that this is a schedule when he does the roads. Does he not have to report in or fill something out to say, these are the roads I graded today?
Absolutely.
So if you're putting it into a computer, if you're putting the data in there, it's easy just to get a program and pull the data out. So it shouldn't take a lot.
currently, we fill out the grading sheets and save them. We don't save them digitally. We save them for legal reasons. I'll leave it at that, but we are open to tracking them and getting them to you however you'd like. The report that we used to provide was trying to forecast where the grader was going to be based off a schedule. I agree, Councillor Gowdy, it is easier to reactively provide a schedule after the fact, after the sheets are filled out, but it's the providing it beforehand it's some administrative back and forth between Public Works and where they're at and if they're even on their schedule still after we're a week into the schedule, and then the next thing you know, we have a torrential downpour and we're just being reactive. For example, I've got probably 15 council requests in the last 2 days for roads that need to be graded. So it's definitely not like clockwork, that's for sure.
Okay, any other questions on the activity report? Dan?
Tyson, along the guardrails where the dirt swept up, is that an issue of flooding, or is that dirt removed? You know how it swept up against the guardrails and the water doesn't really remove from there?
Absolutely. Through you, Madam Mayor, to Councillor Meeks, road supervisor and I were just recently in a discussion about getting something welded up for one of our piece of equipment that will shove that down through. Currently, we've had contractors do it before. We've sometimes used in-house equipment, but we're going to be doing that this month for sure.
Okay, anything else? All right, all those in favor of the motion? Carried. Right. Next, we have moved by Cindy and seconded by Dan. That council received the Public Works Matthew Street signage report as prepared by the Public Works Manager dated May the 9th, 2023 for information. And nobody picked an option. So let's talk about which option we want to pick. Bill, you get to go first.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I would rather none of the options. I personally would prefer no sign or a sign that does not suggest that the township is taking any responsibility for the actions of pedestrians or vehicles. And something like a trail sign does not suggest any responsibility. It's just a sign telling you what's happening on that road.
So what you're talking about is the share sign, share the road.
Yes, except it doesn't say share the road. It says mixed trail use, and it shows a pedestrian, an ATV, a bike, and a car. And it's just telling you that that's there. It doesn't say, it doesn't accept any responsibility. It just says that's what is.
The only problem with that, and I think Tyson will support this, is it is a road and it's an official road and there is official liability on a road. I don't think we can simply say it's a trail. Tyson?
Madam Mayor, I've made my recommendation for the signage, and Public Works is open to putting any sign up that council suggests, but I would say to keep it really simple, the more we identify that it's okay for pedestrians to use that road to travel on foot or bike or ATV, the more we open ourselves to liability. So it's whatever your choice. It's just the more we encourage pedestrians, the more liability.
Bill?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The other thing too is Matthew Street's 100 meters of the 543 meters of our roads, and it'll be the only one that's issued with signs.
It is a little different in that it is in the village and it is well trafficked with people. All sorts of people in all sorts of carriers. What's your name there? Craig?
You know it well enough. Through you, Madam Mayor, Tyson. Option one where it says watch for pedestrians, like that's a common sign seen throughout the province of Ontario and Canada, United States. Like that must be very safe for liability purposes, like when you got cities, Kingston, Ottawa, Toronto, have it on side streets. Would that not be a normal standard?
Through you, Madam Mayor, to Councillor Middleton, that sign is normally seen where you're approaching pedestrian crosswalks or where a sidewalk comes to a bus stop or something like that, or a school zone or something like that. It's not typical signage for a brand new reconstructed street that was built with no pedestrian access.
Nikki?
Do we have to have a sign? Like back to Councillor Miller, do we have to? It's a short street. No other street in Sharpeville Lake has any signs. So do we have to have a sign?
I'm fine with that.
And we're going to save $130.
As long as we don't say Matthew Street in council ever again.
Craig?
One more thing, man. If we want to end the Matthew Street, can we move the stop sign to face the medical center road? Now that it's not going to be one way, because now when you come down the hill, you have to stop. When you come off Wing Crescent, you have the right of way right through. When you're coming from the medical center road, there's nothing there. Where if the stop sign faced the medical center road like the band shall, it would stop, the flow of traffic would go down. You could turn left, people from Wings would flow up. Like it used to be for 150 years.
So before the project, so you're suggesting to have a stop sign at the heading southbound on Wing Crescent?
No. No. You come in past Belongs from 38 Highway,
Yes.
you follow up, you're gonna go by the band shell is gonna be on your left-hand side. You're gonna hit Matthew Street, you stop. You're coming down the hill at Matthew Street, you want to go to Wing Crescent, you have the right of way. You're coming down from Bill Bowick's down the hill, you have the right of way up. No traffic coming here, you can either go to Wing Crescent or you can come up Matthew Street. Like the way it was.
I think I'd have to do a further analysis on that situation, and I think I'd like to focus on the recommendation that we're speaking about, just the pedestrian signage.
So with that stop sign there, you'd be stopping traffic on the trail as well, right?
Oh, right.
But what you're saying is if you put a sign there, you'd be stopping cars and trail riders and walkers and hikers.
Yeah. I just, through you, Madam Mayor, Councillor Middleton, I just don't want to make decisions like this, just a discussion. I'd like to do a full analysis on it. And the first thing that comes to my mind is more of an all-way stop there at that little urban pedestrian area. So
That's not a bad idea and slows everything down. Are we agreed that a four-way stop is the way to go? Let's do that then. We have an agreement. So what do we do with this motion? We don't want any of the options.
It's defeated.
We just defeat this motion. All those in favor of this motion? All those opposed of options of putting up signs is what the motion is. Yeah,
It's all the signs.
yeah, you need to, no, the motion is to choose an option for signs.
No,
Yes,
that's what you'd have to do if you don't want a sign, period.
yes. So I'll do this again. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion's defeated. Whew, guys, this is a hard one.
Don't have any options.
It is. All right. So we're having 4 stop signs and no signs of pedestrians. Okay, let's put the glasses on for the next one. Okay, we have moved by Susan and seconded by Lynn. Whereas on March 29th, 23, Public Works released the request for tender PW 2023-08 to procure contractor unit pricing for the supply, delivery, and application of 35% calcium chloride with a closing date of April 12th, 2023. And whereas one bid was received, which was within the 2023 budget, Public Works Manager has reviewed the bid and has evaluated according to the criteria outlined in the tender and is recommending to award Delhi Dust Control as the successful contractor. Now therefore be it resolved that council approve the recommendation of the Public Works Manager and award Delhi Dust Control as the successful bidder. And for the Public Works Manager be authorized to issue a purchase order for the work. Discussion. Philip.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Tyson, is there only one supplier? And the other question is, have we used these people before in the past?
through you, Madam Mayor, Councillor Smith, Delhi is I don't know which order it went in. I believe they were bought by Morris. They bought Morris Chemicals, which you might recognize. They've been doing our calcium for definitely long before my time here. And the way that the market is they've pretty much got everybody in this area.
Okay, all those in favor? Carried. Moved by Lynn and seconded by Susan, whereas March 29th, 2023, Central Frontenac Public Works released the tender for PW 2023-09 to procure contractor unit pricing for the supply and placement of gravel with the closing date of April 12th, 2023. And whereas 2 bids were received which were within the 2023 budget, Public Works Manager has reviewed the bids and has evaluated according to the criteria outlined in the tender and is recommending to award Cranes Construction as the successful bidder. Now therefore be it resolved that council approve the recommendation of the Public Works Manager and award Cranes Construction as the successful bidder in the amount of $405,884.70, excluding HST. And further that the Public Works be authorized to issue a purchase order for the work. Discussion. All those in favor? Carried. Nice when they come in within budget numbers. Moved by Susan, seconded by Lynn, whereas on March 29th, 2023, Public Works released the request for tender PW 2023-10 to procure contractor unit pricing for the supply of screened winter sand for the Olden Garage with a closing date April 12th, 2023. And whereas 3 bids were received, which were within the 2023 budget, the Public Works Manager has reviewed the bids and has evaluated according to the criteria outlined in the tender and is recommending to award Robinson Excavating and Trucking as the successful contractor. Now therefore be it resolved that council accept the recommendation of the Public Works Manager and award Robinson's Excavating and Trucking as the successful bidder in the amount of $148,500 excluding HST, and further that the Public Works Manager be authorized to issue a purchase order for the work. Discussion. All those in favor? Carried. Moved by Lynn and seconded by Susan. Whereas on March 29th, 2023, Public Works released the request for tender PW 2023-11 to procure contractor unit pricing for the supply of screened winter sand for the Hinchinbrook Garage with a closing date of April 12th. And whereas 4 bids were received, which were within the 2023 budget, Public Works Manager has reviewed the bids and has evaluated according to the criteria outlined in the tender and is recommending to award Robinson Excavating and Trucking as the successful contractor. Now therefore be it resolved that council approve the recommendation of the Public Works Manager and award Robinson's Excavating and Trucking as the successful bidder in the amount of $128,250 excluding HST, and further the Public Works Manager be authorized to issue a purchase order for the work. Any discussion on that? All those in favor? Carried. That's it for tenders? It is, okay. Moved by Lynn and seconded by Susan. Whereas numerous complaints have been received regarding vehicles parking on the shoulder adjacent to 14153 Road 38 Cardinal Cafe, which is currently a no parking zone. And whereas if vehicles continue to park in this location, there is potential for a serious motor vehicle accident or worse, a pedestrian being struck. And whereas staff met with the detachment commander of the OPP last year, and as a result, it was recommended that we install reflective delineator sticks to stop vehicles parking along this section of Road 38. Now, therefore, be it resolved that council directs staff to investigate other options besides the reflective delineator sticks and bring back a recommendation at the May 23rd meeting as to the best option along with costing. Discussion.
Nikki first.
Oh, Nikki, Craig, and then Susan.
Can we also ask staff to look into changing the bylaw to include the no parking in that section in 38? There's other parking bylaws for the village of Sharbert Lake, but that section of 38 is not included. And as the police had said to me when I called them, they had said there's no bylaw to enforce it. And unless you have a bylaw, it can't be enforced, and bylaw wouldn't look into it as a bylaw complaint because there wasn't a bylaw either. So if we could include that, I'd appreciate it, please and thanks.
And staff will be coming back with a report and that will be a part of it.
Yes.
Craig and then
Thanks, Madam Mayor. To Tyson, I guess. Chris isn't here. Because he was the one that talked to the people, I believe, in the report that we got, but yeah, he's probably busy. Is there any chance we could go back to the way it was years ago where it was like a right turning lane and then that keeps the flow of traffic, and that's like an OPP issue? Same with Robert Street. Remember Robert Street? Every street in 38 had a right turning lane. That it went with a turning lane and it had arrows, so you couldn't park. If you do park there, then you're actually charged with stopping the flow of traffic, not just no parking, right? You know what I mean? Because it's identified as a right turning lane into the village. And when they went through and put all those white lines that were supposed to stop people from parking and blocking driveways that never worked, they eliminated those turning lanes. But that was never an issue before they did that, because that whole distance from where the Cardinal Cafe driveway started to the street was a dotted line with like a 45-degree angle to the white line, and that was the right turning lane. So you didn't have to stop 38 highway to get around all the parked cars to turn right onto the road. I don't know if that's a big deal. Tyson probably does. So
Through you, Madam Mayor, to Councillor Middleton, what would this is not, you're right, this is not my report, but that's directly related with Public Works. And what I could recommend is we could do an analysis to put that as one of the options in the report, and we could consider it. When I was at Good Roads, I was reminded that Ontario, we're still continuing to engineer these right turning lanes, but they're actually quite dangerous too, because of the blind spots they create when one person's trying to pull out and there's a car following the person who's turning right. But definitely worthy of, if it worked before, definitely worthy of re-looking at.
It came back really, wasn't directly went to Public Works. It was through bylaw. It came through bylaw enforcement. That's where the complaints came. So that's why I said to Chris, I can bring this forth because I'm also had heard about it. Lots of folks have come into the office with near miss, getting out and cannot see. So I thought this is the time. And I said with Councillor Gowdy had asked me, and I said, we can put it on for discussion. And that's why the motion says we come back as staff to bring more information towards council. And that's great with some other options that are presented, but that's why it wasn't directed that Public Works would do the report at this time.
Susan.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, but my issue was regarding the bylaw, so I don't need to speak further. Thank you.
I will just tell you, as somebody who doesn't sit up really high in her car, it's impossible if there's a car parked there to see out on 38 highway. So for the short people of the world, we need to do something to fix it before we get smashed. Okay, any other questions or comments?
Madam Mayor, I just wanted to, I think I'm going to jump out. It looks like we're going on to committee meeting reports, but I didn't get a chance to say it during the tenders, but I wanted to thank all local contractors for bidding and your interest in our tenders this year. I wanted to thank staff for all the estimating of quantities that they did, and especially Noah. The fact that all these tenders came in with numbers so close together, and that there was hardly any questions asked about them the whole time. He's just doing an excellent job with and he was the one preparing all these reports as well. So thanks, everyone.
Thank you. And thank each and every one of you for all that you do for us. Okay, all those in favor of the motion? Carried. Okay. So we are at committee reports. So moved by Bill and seconded by Dan that council received the minutes from the Frontenac Arena Board meetings of October 6th, 2022 and February 8th, 2023 for information. Interesting minutes. They don't have a secretary? Dan is the secretary.
We're operating a tight budget.
There you go. All right. Okay. All those in favor? Carried. Moved by Bill and seconded by Dan that council received the minutes from the District 4 Recreation Committee meeting held April the 19th, 2023 for information. Anything to add from District 4?
I forwarded the pic. I hope everyone was able to see the fence pictures from Sunday when they built the fence. They're quite happy and proud of that fence.
Looks really good. Really good. Okay. All those in favor? Carried. It's amazing what can be done when a group gets together, eh? Okay, Moved by Dan and seconded by Bill that council receive the minutes from the Quinte Conservation Executive Board meeting held February the 16th, 2023 for information. Questions or comments? All those in favor? Carried. Moved by Dan and seconded by Bill that council received the following correspondence, and it's number 1 to 13. Any questions or comments? All those in favor? Carried. Moved by Bill and seconded by Dan. Whereas the mayor has received letters from residents concerned over the decision of the Royal Bank of Canada Charlotte Lake branch to reduce their in-person hours. And whereas on November the 28th, the hours were reduced from Monday to Thursday, 9:30 to 4, and Friday, 9:30 to 5, to Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday, 9:30 to 5, due to staff shortages and slower traffic in the branch. And whereas most of the population in this area do not bank online or have reliable internet to do so, and as such depend on the bank and appreciate the one-stop shopping that Charlotte Lake has to offer. And whereas council are concerned that the decision to reduce the hours, that it may lead to further reduction in hours or a closure, which would be detrimental to our businesses and community. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Council of the Township of Central Frontenac requests the Royal Bank of Canada to reconsider their decision on reducing the hours at the Charlotte Lake branch and inform us of the outcome. And further, that the CAO clerk send the resolution to Royal Bank of Canada Community Manager Patricia Bonachki and Charlotte Lake Branch Manager Carolyn Marie Cordy. I personally have been at the bank on the closed days where people are saying, I'll just go to Perth and open up a bank there and do all my shopping there. And that's exactly what will happen. So good that we're considering doing this. Cindy?
I know the BMO Bank in Northbrook, they're going through the same thing up there. So it started out like this, 3 days a week, cutting hours. They're after about 2 years now, they're losing their bank. It's done come September. So we really need to fight this.
Exactly. Okay, all those in favor? Unanimous. Let's get that out to the bank and see what we can get back. Okay, moved by Nikki and seconded by Philip. This is a long one. Whereas Bill 23, More Homes Built Faster Act under Regulation 59622 has removed the ability for conservation authorities to provide municipalities with review and commenting services as part of the planning approval process on natural heritage and water-related policies. Whereas the Township of Central Frontenac and Council are committed to providing reliable and timing planning application process support for applicants. Whereas the Township of Central Frontenac feels strongly that this current legislation change is not in the best interest of rural municipalities or its residents. Whereas the Township of Central Frontenac and Council feel that these services are best provided by the local conservation authority due to the existing working relationship, historical knowledge of the covered geographic area, and technical expertise provided by conservation authority staff on matters related to natural heritage and water-related plan review services. And whereas the Township of Central Frontenac and Council feel that municipalities benefit from leveraging the expertise of their local conservation authority. The current wording in Bill 23 forces municipalities to contract this work out to the private sector where there is already limited expertise and capacity to take on this expanded role. Therefore, be it resolved that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Central Frontenac requests that the province reconsider the current wording in Bill 23. And that the ability to provide review and commenting services as part of the planning approval process on natural heritage and water-related policies be reinstated with the addition of language that would require conservation authorities to process applications within a legislated timeframe. And that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Central Frontenac direct the CAO clerk to send this motion to the Premier of Ontario, the Ontario Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing, the Association of Municipalities of Ontario, and the local members of Parliament, provincial Parliament. Discussion. The mayor's had a meeting with John Jordan, our MPP, and we brought this up to him, and basically we asked him to take it forward that it's an Eastern Ontario problem. We are the rural communities, and we all have conservation authorities that we contribute to and have worked with forever. And it's fine for Toronto and Hamilton and the cities, but it's hurting us. And I don't think they thought about the rural communities when they decided to do this. So John Jordan will be taking it forward to us as well. And it won't hurt for him to get another copy of this motion. Discussion. All those in favor? Oh, sorry, Philip, go ahead.
No, I was just going to agree that, you know, it's unfair that the province decided to say thou shall not do it instead of letting it be an optional service that the conservation authorities provide. Because I mean, we can either pay them to do the consulting work or we're paying a third party to do it. So, and the conservation authorities already, as we've said, already have the expertise and the manpower in place. So.
Yeah. And the consultants coming in will be coming from the cities and don't know our geography or our roads or any of that stuff. Okay. All those in favor? Unanimous. Let's see if we can get some changes happening. All right. Lost my agenda stuff here. Public meetings, there are none. No bylaws or agreements. Any notices of motions? Any giving of notice of motions?
No.
Any new or other business?
No.
Okay, we are at closed session. Have a motion moved by Philip Smith and seconded by Nikki that council move into closed session pursuant to section 239(2) of the Municipal Act to discuss advice is subject to solicitor-client privilege, including communications necessary for that purpose pursuant to section 239(2)(f). All those in favor? Carried. Now let's go ahead. Does anybody need a break?
Tyson will be in on this.
Okay,
Okay.
all right, let's go ahead then. So do we have a motion for the minutes?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, so there's no minutes.
But here's the.
Does anybody have any disclosure pecuniary interest?
No, they will not.
Okay,
Okay.
we don't know what it is, so we can't tell.
No.
Okay, so
Basically, and Tyson certainly can discuss a little bit further, but it was in regards to the O'Clain Lane Bridge tender that they had put out, and with two bids from two different companies came in. And there was some questions, if you want, in regards to, you had some questions with respect to those bids and to the lowest bid and certainly the highest bid from the two companies. So we had reached out to Tony Fleming to get some